So many of us are seeking a deeper understanding of the physical and unseen world around us, while trying to connect and understand ourselves. Seeking enlightenment, understanding of the paranormal, holistic options, whole body healing, the metaphysical, and finding a personal connection to a higher consciousness. Together, we will journey and seek understanding of our own soul's fulfillment and that which lies beyond the veil. If you found yourself here, trust this is the next step in your spiritual journey. Welcome to Soul Flight.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Soul Flight. I'm so happy to be here with you today. A little bit of change of plans. Originally, I was really excited to bring Ellie on tonight. We were going to bring back In the Mix, but that has got shifted around. We'll be bringing back In the Mix starting next month, so keep an eye out for that. But I think you're going to have a lot of fun here tonight. I do have a surprise guest waiting in the back in the wings. And just to join in, have conversation. We really want to know what you want to hear about, what you have going on. If you have questions about the metaphysical, anything, this is an open forum conversation tonight. So please start popping in those comments and those questions, and we'll keep an eye out for them. But like I have been doing, I do want to start the show with a postcard from Spirit. And again, I pulled these from the Postcard from Spirits, and they're by Colette Baron Reed. So I pulled this right before we got ready to go live, just kind of asked, what does the collective need to hear tonight? What message could we bring into you to inspire, to give ease, whatever it may be? And hi, Tony. Thank you for tuning in. Hi, Lisa. Tonight's card is Be Fearless. Be fearless. Dearest you, sometimes it's wonderful to give, but there are times you might find yourself overgiving. Now might be a good time to check in and see where you might be cutting off the flow of abundance. Let others give to you, even if you are more comfortable being generous and being the giver or the healer or the rescuer. In the art of living, we sometimes overlook an important skill, receiving gracefully and with gratitude, without diminishing yourself or trying to deny vulnerability or bringing an agenda of equality to it. Receiving is hard for some people, maybe you, and I know it is for me. You do not need a this for that in your exchange with others. You are doing good in the world. Let the world give back and support you. Then you can give up the old stories that have you convinced you have to do everything alone with no help. Let your well be filled. We all love you so, so much. And I think that is a great message. I hope it reached who it needs to tonight. And I know I am a big one for, I have a hard time. I love giving. I love doing for other people. I always feel uncomfortable, I should say, when that comes back. And so maybe a message for all of us, just letting that be part of the process, letting that abundance come back to you. So tonight, I am really excited to welcome in my friend and colleague, Michael Christopher. Hi, Michael.
So happy to be the consolation prize.
Oh, no, I am so excited. So excited. I was like, and this is the nice thing, I think, when you start building relationships within the community, being able to reach out to your friends and saying, hey, Spirit changed things. Are you available? And having those people being able to just jump in and be like, absolutely, let's do this and have some fun.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it was kind of a blur today. Like I said, I went back to work last week, so I'm still kind of adjusting to being back to work after a year off.
Right.
But it's been great. It's been great. Something completely different, something I've never done before. So it's a whole new world, which, after 34 years of doing the same thing,
right,
I just wanted something like polar opposites. And I was talking with the guys today. I'm like, who in their right mind goes from a cushy air traffic control job working inside where you can control the environment
right,
to working outside in the elements in a maintenance career field?
Right. But, I think you kind of, and we were talking backstage, hit the nail on the head with that, is just having something to be physically active, something to do. That's important. But it's interesting. And I was thinking about this earlier. So, and we were talking, and some of you might know I'm going back to school. And one of my classes, we had to do a 10-minute instructional video. And I mean, Michael, you and I have had so many conversations about how uneasy I was stepping into this role of being here on this platform saying, hey, I'm a medium. And do you know what I did my instructional video on? How to read oracle cards.
Oh, no.
I'm like, I know. And I'm like, oh man, I'm either about to get kicked out of college or this is going to be okay. And so far I haven't been kicked out, guys. So granted, the video has not been graded yet, but I'm still enrolled.
Well, it's the world. College, I mean, that's the place to experiment. That's what they say.
Right, exactly.
You can't come out of the closet in a college these days, then something like that.
Right.
Especially these days, this is becoming so much more of the norm than it was.
It is
a decade or two ago. So good for you, though.
Yeah, it was interesting. But talking about how spirit moves us into different avenues and things that we don't foresee being a part of or trying something new. So, and I'm so happy that you're trying something a little different.
Yeah, just a little bit, but and it's good too, because, after fourth time of leaving work, going back to a job, quitting, going back,
right,
quitting again. I think I'm a slow learner. I know that, but the fourth time, it's like, I need this balance.
Yes.
I can't just do this, because it literally consumed my mind like every day, even though I might not have been doing this every day.
Right.
There's always something going on, like, oh, did I check my schedule? Do I need to do anything with my website? Setting up events, which I'm still doing. I've been doing a lot more in-person events, because again, 9 years of doing this, I'm finally like fully stepping out into the community, which I haven't done. I was keeping it to like the crystal shops where it's safe and people are open to this. Now it's like, bookstores, restaurants, bars, so it's like the general community. But what I'm finding is everybody so far has been so welcoming, and I'm finding that more and more people want this. They want to be able to talk about this.
Right.
And, what I'm finding is there's an underground movement in the area. And I'm like, well, if I have to be the one to bring, to be the uncomfortable one to break this open here, I don't care.
I love that. And I love that you're willing to allow yourself to be used that way. And
I am a tool. I'm not
going to come. No, I'm just kidding. You know what I think is interesting though, because I'm glad you brought that up, because I had taken off about a year also and switched what I was doing and focusing on. And then I kind of went back to work part-time, and now here I am. I'm working full-time. I'm back in school full-time. And I have to, again, like you said, I have to have that balance, because for me, being and just working in the metaphysical, and I love it, but where I'm at with my family life right now, it doesn't give me where I can just travel all the weekends or go all over and do some of those venues. And I'm not willing to sacrifice that family time. And so for me, this gives me that balance. I still feel like, especially with the career I'm going in, I'm still working in servitude. I'm offering help, and educating, but yet I'm still also able to bring in this other piece of who I am. Yeah. And I never thought, and I don't know for you, but I never thought I'd be able to take the metaphysical and have it hold hands with anything else. I felt like it had to be its standalone thing. And especially when I first started taking classes, that's kind of that feeling I think that was presented. But I don't think it has to be that way.
No, and I think I don't want to say there's pressure, but I see other people that do this full time, and I'm like, so my mindset was I have to do this full time.
Yeah.
And you fantasize about what it's going to look like, and you're just, because you don't know.
No.
And I don't know. I just find that I don't think I can just do this full time. I just don't think it'll ever, I don't want to say ever get to that point.
Right.
I don't know. I just have to have that downtime feeling, normal, doing normal muggle work, doing something.
Correct.
So that's just me. So And again, I don't consider it ever being a failure that I quit my job, tried to do this full
Right.
time, couldn't hack it, went back. Hey, you just got to go with the flow and whatever makes you
Absolutely.
happy. And that's the bottom line. It's like, what do you want to do? What makes you happy? And just go with it.
I think too often, and I know for me too, and like you said, there's kind of an undertone of pressure.
Mhm.
And it was like, well, I must not be good at this if I can't do this
Exactly.
full time.
Yes.
And, you know, and that's where I was judging myself instead of letting spirit use me how I needed to be used. And I think so many people in any field, not just the metaphysical, but in any field, we base our standards off of something that's right for somebody else. And we never
Exactly.
stop and say what's right for us. And that has to change.
Yep. Because I need sarcasm. I cannot survive
yeah.
without giving people crap. And
Right.
I missed it. I missed that interaction with working with people.
Yes.
Because you got to kind of behave yourself in a way when you're doing this work and you're
Well,
in a
you have
public
to with
eye.
your clients. Yeah. You have to have a persona. You really do.
Yeah.
I mean, and you know, it sounds silly, but I have a YouTube channel and I had just had like a regular image on YouTube. When you talk about having this persona, what people want you to look like, and had some professional photos done, all I did was change my profile photo and I got like 50 new likes. And I'm like, all you guys are looking at is a photo, but I'm fitting this persona. You know, and I think
I have to do some glamour shots. Maybe that'll boost my audience. I don't know.
some glam. Now I have all these visions in my head. I'm gonna message Jennifer and see if we can come up with some ideas for glamour shots for Michael.
I wish I still had my 90s and 80s hair because it was about as long as yours. Well, maybe not just as long as yours, but I had some 80s. I mean, heavy metal was the thing. So my hair was down.
You were a hairband guy?
I was. And
Ooh,
I'm glad I
now we
did
need
because
photos.
I'll have to find. I don't have one when they were super long, though. That's the thing. I went looking. But I'm glad I did when I could, because after I went in the military and the first time they shaved my head, it never really came back the way it used to.
Yep.
So,
right. You're like,
oh well.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's why I grow it here. I'm like, I can still grow hair.
There you go. You're like, see, it's okay.
And this is not dyed, although I'm 54.
Lucky.
It's starting to gray, but that's something that runs in my family, that nobody goes gray until they're like in their late 70s.
My hair, I started having gray hair before I had my first kid. And I'm like, what is this? Like, this is not, and it's not like, I think I'd be okay if my hair just went white. But it's like, it does this funny stuff. And I'm like, why can't it just be like white? I'd be okay with that.
So I wanted to say hello to everybody. I see everybody's on. And hello, Natasha. Yeah, it's been a while. I've kind of been not avoiding lives, but like Stephanie and I were just talking a minute ago, I've been putting a lot of effort into doing in-person events, which I hadn't done for a couple of years. And I got to tell you, that's where it's at. I mean, as much as I love the internet,
right,
I had to break out of that fear of doing them in person again. It had been so long that I was like shaking about it. And I mean, on the verge of like throwing up before each event.
Right.
The nerves still, I mean, I know that's how it is. That's how it's going to be for me forever. Right. That's me. But the energy in a live event is like, you can't touch it. It's like people are so engaged.
Right.
They get to share in that experience with each other. I mean, they feel the emotion, they see the emotion. It's like a whole nother level. It's so if I could convince anybody to do in-person events, you got to at least try it.
And how did you, so, you know, for people listening who might want to be like, okay, I'm willing to do this. Mm-hmm. How did you start putting it out or start finding, because you're not in a huge area either. Right. You're in a smaller area. So how did you start putting out feelers and trying to feel that out?
So way back when, I literally did my first in-person demonstration, probably only a few months after I learned I was a medium.
Okay.
I just have this, I don't know if it's fearlessness or stupidity just to put myself in these uncomfortable situations. But long story short, we had a friend in the neighboring town that was managing a crystal shop. And conversation started where, well, actually at the time we didn't even know, we were just in the shop, and she had mentioned something, or my wife kept poking me, you need to go tell her you're a medium. I'm like, why would I just tell her this?
Yeah, right.
Somehow we started talking, and she's like, oh my God, would you want to do an event here? And we're not even thinking about it. I was like, sure.
Oh,
And then
you're
after
like,
I left, it started sinking in what I just put
yeah,
myself into. But this is what I did, because I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea what was going to happen. So what we did, we advertised it as a donation-based event, but all the proceeds would go to the local animal shelter,
oh, awesome.
right? And it was originally for only like 15 people. It ended up being like 35 people. So I'm
Wow.
literally standing there not having any idea. They all knew, because when we pitched it, we said, okay, this is new. You're helping me
Right.
kind of learn what this is about.
Yeah,
So
I
they
like that.
knew. And there was 20 minutes of crickets, nothing happening and then I made my first contact, and I just kind of started working through it. And from there, I just kept doing it. I kept doing more and more of them, to the point where I learned that I'm always going to be nervous.
Yes. I don't think that ever goes away. Even,
No.
I was a 911 operator for a while, and every time that line would ring, I would freak out. And I relate this, now to working in the metaphysical. And they said, if you're ever working this line and that goes off and you don't have that, you shouldn't be doing it anymore, because you've lost that connection to what's coming through from the other side.
And I say that I've always used this as a personal gauge, that, again, when this was all brand new, and I thought, oh, I'll get over these nerves eventually.
Right.
And I quickly learned that, no, this is going to be a part of it. So I just had to accept that this is how it's going to be, and I can't let that stop me. And it actually became like a fuel for me. It was like, okay, I learned that the nervousness was it usually kicks in really hard the night before an event. But what I learned is it's probably the energy of the people, the spirit people that are going to be there.
Yeah.
It could be that. And again, my nerves of not knowing what is about to happen during the event. But what you said about the feeling, it's like, if I ever lose that feeling, that's a check for me to stand back and go, what's wrong? Because something is not right. Either I've lost my reason and why I'm doing this. It's just a checkpoint for me. If I ever go into it and I'm calm, there's something wrong.
Right. I agree. Now, do you ever do, because I don't do gallery events. They horrify me. But I do, in home. Like, I'll do private, 10 people in home galleries. Do you do in-home readings like that?
I've only done, oh God, I want to say one.
Okay.
I don't know. I kind of have mixed feelings about them. It's not good or bad. It's just, this is going to sound probably weird, but I like having a neutral space.
Oh no, that doesn't sound weird to me, because that's one of the only things that you don't know the energy of the house when you go in. So I get that.
Yeah. And I got to acknowledge Tanya's in the group. Tanya. Hello, Tanya. Tanya has been, we partnered up, and she's been setting up the events.
Oh, so wonderful.
She has like complete reign about not letting me move back into my safety cave.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because I told her, I said, if I ever start crawling away, it's like you can grab me by the collar and drag me back out.
Right. So, I love that.
So yeah, with all this, I got to say, the people that help us do this work, it's never just us. There's always people helping us. And I've been grateful of everybody that I've met over the last almost 9.5 years of doing this.
Yeah.
It's like you get this network of people, and it's just, we're all trying to help each other out.
It is. It's great. Hi, Jackie. Thank you for tuning in. Hi, Debbie. No, now that I know she's in control of putting you places, I'm going to be like, so, Tanya, how does Wisconsin look for Michael? We'd like to get him up here. Or over, I should say.
People are asking me to do events. I'm like, you got to talk to my manager. I'm sorry.
That's awesome.
I want your people to talk to my people.
Yeah, she says yes, except in snowstorms. And it just so happens we're having a very mild winter up north. So,
well, it's on the way, because we just had over a foot within the last couple days, few days. I'm like,
it's been so weird here.
Oh yeah, motorcycles. I was getting ready to go get
Yeah.
another one, and then it snowed. Maybe that's a sign I don't need
Maybe I
another
was going to
one.
say, maybe you shouldn't get another motorcycle, Michael. That's funny.
But no, but you mentioned something earlier about it terrifying you. You got to at least try it. You got to do an event. And like I said, just make it like I did, something either donation based or something, and that kind of takes the pressure off because it's going to a good cause no matter what.
Right.
And, like I said, I'm a nervous wreck before each one. So just understand that's how it's going to be. But what I find is the second I start talking, I really don't know what's coming out of my mouth most of the time because I don't prepare anything in advance. If I do, it's never going to go to script anyway.
Right.
So I kind of just open up and I was like, whatever I, feel drawn to talk about, that's what I do at the opening.
Okay.
And literally once I start talking, I'm fine because then it's just me
You're
being
connected.
me.
You're plugged in. Yeah.
Yeah. I might be just babbling away. In my mind, it's probably just like Charlie Brown teacher, but apparently it's making sense to people. And then I go into the readings and, before you know it, it's like the hour and a half it goes so fast.
No, and I think that's, I noticed that for me too. Even like events where I might have a table out, or sometimes people have me come to their house for, checking their house or going through things. And I am always nervous because a lot of times I don't know those people, and I always take somebody with me because I have found for me when I plug in, I do lose track of time, but I also lose my awareness of the physical world. It's almost kind of like being drunk. Like I know it's there, but my focus isn't there. It's beyond. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, I have to have time too, because I will lose track of time. But what I really pay attention to is how much time I'm spending with each person. I try to spend no more than like 7 to 10 minutes is my gauge, and I don't really look at a clock for that, but over the years, that's been my kind of window. So I think it just naturally, I can feel when I need to just, okay, I made the contact, I gave the evidence, I found my person in the audience, maybe give a little bit more evidence and then a message, and then I try to close it with that and move on.
Yeah.
But again, it's like, I always compare myself to other people that I see do this. And I kind of have my own spin where I don't just do readings for the hour and a half. This is what I envision. I want it to be an interactive evening. I want to give people the opportunity that maybe have questions about what this is about. How does it work? Whatever.
I like that. Yeah.
Because I want everybody to be involved because, not everybody's going to get a reading.
Right.
I know, but we can all take something away from the readings that do come through. But again, I want people to be able to open up and share an experience, because how many of us have had an experience and we don't know who we can share it with?
Absolutely. And I do, that is a great idea. And I like how you say that because it gives that dialogue, and it creates that safe space for people who might have some questions or want to jump in with things.
What I find though is there's very shy people at events.
Yes.
So I think I'm just going to have to do the stare. I'm just going to have to stand there until somebody asks a question.
Awkward silence.
That's right. I'm just going to sit here and stare at every one of you until somebody asks a question.
And I laugh, but I was at an event and I wasn't working the event, and I went in to see Kim Weaver. She was doing the gallery speaking, and I was with a friend at the time. But you talk about awkward silence, because at the time I was not out as a medium and kind of got called out. And she's like, I have to stop the show. Spirit says there's a medium here I have to talk to. And I'm like, oh, hell no. There is no way in hell I am going to raise my hand. And she literally like stops and stands right in front of me. And I'm like, very timidly putting my finger up, but I get that, because nobody wants to be called out by spirits in the middle of all those people.
Well, the first year you were on like Facebook, I didn't know what your name was. Every time I talked to you, it was like, wait, Stephanie? Wait, what? Tiffany? What was when you were doing
Charlie?
Charlie.
Yeah,
So it was Charlie, Stephanie. I think there was one other one too.
Penelope.
That's it.
I've worked under Penelope.
There
yeah.
you go. I was like,
Yep.
who is this person?
Right. I know when I had done some events with Soul and Synergy and Terry. He's an awesome guy, but he always used to call me Charlie, not Charlie.
Charlie.
Yeah. So it was funny, but yes. So I've gone through my times of having my
But
aliases.
I get it. So hello everybody. We're not ignoring anybody. It's great to see everybody here. Like Stephanie said in the beginning, this was a last minute thing. She had a guest set up and unfortunately they had to cancel, and I'm old and I don't have a life anymore.
Oh gosh,
said,
no,
hey,
I'm so excited.
No.
So excited. Oh, there's Miss Jennifer. She should be on here with us. She was avoiding our message, I think.
I think she was.
Yeah.
Now we can just harass her and she can just type. She can't retaliate.
No, she has to be nice because she has that persona she has to put out to the people. I would like to take a quick 2-minute break. And then when we come back, hopefully people will have some questions and throw them in the chat, or maybe have a topic they'd like us to discuss. So you guys think while we go backstage, have a quick drink, and we'll be back in just a minute.
Are you interested in the paranormal, ghosts, spirits, and the metaphysical? How about Mothman, Bigfoot, and other cryptids? What about UFOs, UAPs, and other anomalous phenomenon? Then you need to check out Cryptids, Anomalies, and the Paranormal Society. We have all that and more. Watch our series, Caps Road Trip, where we travel across the U.S. in search of these phenomena and bring you not only the history of these locations, events, and encounters, but evidence that we capture along the way. Alongside our team of researchers and investigators, you never know who will be joining in on the investigations. Are you interested in Bigfoot in Upper Michigan? Check out Finding Hayden, a series documenting the Sasquatch activity on a very special 80-acre property just outside of Menominee that has been a hotspot since 2012. Want even more? Check out our podcasts. Whispers from the Dark is the official podcast of Cryptids, Anomalies, and the Paranormal Society, and brings you interviews with the top names in the field of paranormal to cryptids and more. Hear witnesses' accounts and go in depth with the CAPS team to hear more about our ongoing research. Are you more into cryptids? Find links to our all cryptid show, Monsters on the Edge, on the Untold Radio Network. If you're into spooky, subscribe now and you won't miss a minute of our brand new series coming soon, Spirits of Macville. Follow along as we uncover the haunted history dating back to 1877 of a very well-known location you may have never guessed would be haunted. Head on over to YouTube and hit that subscribe button and you won't miss a minute.
Well, hi, everybody. We're back. Thank you for sticking with us.
I got to address Ben's question. Yes, I have a booth. I paid for a booth at Michigan Paracon.
Yes.
And that was before I went back to work, but it's part-time. So I'm pretty sure if I just say, hey, I need that weekend off, I'm still going.
You have. I'm so excited because I'm going to be there again this year, too.
Oh, cool.
So I'll actually get to meet you in person. Ellie and I are coming over together with a booth.
Awesome.
So, yeah, it'll be very exciting.
I'm out in the atrium because I got my ticket or booth late. So she's like, we could put you in the atrium. And then I was like, didn't know what that was. And then a friend of mine, Jessica Potter, she was like, no, that's where you want to be. That's where they put Jack Osborne last time.
It is. Yeah. Right out in the, and it's a really neat setup. I would say the worst room, we were upstairs. So we were in the room right in from where they had Jack Osborne. There were 2 rooms upstairs, but downstairs, there's kind of a room that's kind of funky and down the hall and out of the way. And I'm like, I think that would be the worst room because it's not really connected with everybody. Oh, Jennifer, yes, come. Don't think about it. Just get your ticket now, and we'll all just hang out. That would be awesome.
Come by the booth and make fun of me doing readings.
There you go. She could come make fun of all of us.
Actually, Jacqueline, I've heard that he's a really good guy. Like I mentioned, my friend Jessica, she was at the last one, and she said he had spent like a whole day awake trying to get there because of weather and all that, and he showed up and he still made time to meet with people and was just, pretty awesome.
Yeah, so many
yeah.
of them got stuck with the bad weather, and
Yeah.
he was very nice. I know my oldest is a huge fan of Ozzy Osbourne, and then liked the paranormal shows that Jack Osbourne was doing. So my friend that had gone with me, I'm like, will you please stand in line to get an autographed picture for my kiddo? But everybody there was so nice. I mean,
Oh, Jacqueline was saying I was grumpy. She was just kidding.
You were grumpy.
I thought she meant Jack. Well, I used to work with her husband because he works at the tower, and I was a grump. I was getting very grumpy. And that's part of the reason I left. I'm like, I'm not going to be that resentful old man that I remember when I was young in the career field, and the old people who are my age now.
Right.
I'm like, I'm not going to be that person. So I want to leave when I can. I'm still like halfway decent.
Yeah. Who wants to be making everybody else miserable?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so yeah, what do you guys have for us? Any questions about? I mean, it's open table, open dialogue.
Topics. So, I mean, otherwise you got to just listen to us banter.
That's right. I don't do relationship questions. Actually, I talk about this a lot. When it comes to psychic, I have maybe not a completely different perception of what psychic is. And it's not predicting people's futures. It's not relationships.
Right.
It's kind of connecting with your energy in the moment and kind of see where your soul is kind of like giving you those little intuitive hits about your life.
Yeah.
Maybe if you're feeling blocked, it's like, okay, I connect with your energy and I see maybe a time in your past where, you had an event and unknowingly that kind of put a subconscious block about whatever. And now that's affected relationships. Yeah. So maybe it's stuff like that. So, but as far as predicting, no.
And I agree. And to add into that a little bit and to kind of touch on Becky's question, when I was working on a psychic phone line, that's one reason I got off, because for me, so I didn't think it was ethical and this isn't what Becky's asking, but people would call and they would say, I'm with this person. How do they feel about me? Well, they're not my client. And so to me, it didn't feel ethical to tap into their energy to give somebody else information. And then, a lot of times too, people would be asking questions where, honey, I didn't have to be a psychic to tell you there were red flags.
Yeah.
And so that I totally understand where you're coming from with that.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, and I've had those type questions for myself, but what I've learned is that you already know deep down inside what the answers are. And it is a psychic can validate what you're feeling.
Right.
But it's kind of like I don't know, I'm trying not to babble, but when it comes to psychic, I've always had an aversion to doing it, because I think a lot more education needs to take place on what it is and what it's not.
Correct.
Because
I agree with that.
We'll see the 1-800 call Cleo and they think, they have all the answers. And I'm sorry. I mean, I can only speak for my experience, but I don't have those answers.
Right.
The life you're living is supposed to be made. I believe it's for us to navigate. And
it's fluid.
Right. And there's no wrong choices, but you already have that gut feeling, especially when it comes to somebody else in your life.
Yes.
Because that first question, in a relationship, is this person cheating on me? If you're having to ask that question, you already deep down inside.
Right.
Yeah. You know something's not right, but it's hard for us to confront somebody else.
Yeah.
And a lot of people want a psychic to tell them what they want to hear.
Right. What they're afraid to hear or afraid to ask, and they want the information to come from somewhere else. But I do think, Becky, I think sometimes too, I see when people are asking these questions, it's not that we're going to be single forever, but there's probably some things we have to allow people in, and we have to look at from our own perspective before we're ready to let somebody into that space.
And I do have a feeling on this, Becky, and I want to say that what I'm feeling in your situation is come out for other people that have asked about that. And what usually the feeling I get with that is it's a time for you to become fully comfortable
Exactly.
with you and being alone with yourself, maybe getting to know yourself more than you ever have, and getting to a point where it's not that you don't need anybody, but that you can be okay just being by yourself.
Right. Right.
And I think that's when most relationships will begin to happen for a person, is like, maybe it's just, again, it's internal. Maybe it's something your soul wants you to know, is like, you need to still work on you before somebody else comes into your life. It's like, you need to be okay with you, and I know a lot of people don't want to hear that answer, but again, I'll say it for me, it's not all sunshine and unicorn farts. It's unfortunately, sometimes it's your truth that we don't want to face, but it's like, until you do,
we can't move past it.
Exactly.
Right. We can't move past it.
Yeah. So again, in a roundabout way, Becky, I hope that helps.
Right. And I think it does, because she had commented down below. I wanted to grab Jacqueline's question quick. I'll pop it up there, but she had commented down below. You're right. So I think that's part of it. We have to make some steps first. But so what are your thoughts, Michael, on reincarnation? That's a great topic.
I completely believe 100% in that. I got to say, and this is weird being a medium. I get a lot of my knowledge on this from reading other books, like especially past life regressions and regression therapists,
yes,
who document their stories, because I'm trying to rack my brain right now. I don't think a lot of people that I've communicated with on the other side have ever brought it up, at least during my readings.
No, that's a good point.
But I do believe, again, I've read a lot of books over the last 10, 20 years, and it resonates with me that I believe this is not just a one-time good deal. And I do believe that we incarnate in other ways, maybe not even physical planets.
Correct. Yeah.
So my mind's
I think
wide
we should
open.
start asking. Maybe next time we're sitting talking with spirit, be like, hey, by the way, is this your first time back? Because I've never had it, you're right, come up from the other side within that conversation.
And I think there's a reason, because I'm feeling my guide step forward, and the message I'm feeling is like, we're not supposed to be worrying about everything else. We're here. Right. And that's kind of what the thought just dropped in my mind. It's like, no, that's why it doesn't come through in my readings. At least that's what I'm feeling from my guides. It's no, because we're supposed to be working on ourselves here now, because all the present is the only thing that matters. Again, over there's no time.
No.
So it's only in the moment. Right. And that's where they want us to concentrate, because that's why we chose to come here.
That's a great point. And I, which is kind of funny, I'm a skeptical person, and I never really bought into reincarnation until I started having some experiences, with people that had very validatable things where I was like, okay, there's something to this. When a 3-year-old is telling you they miss their family and can describe something a lifetime ago that you can validate, that makes you look at things differently.
Oh yeah. When my wife did home daycare, the things that the kids would say, like, I didn't want to come back as a girl this time. I wanted to be a boy. And it's like, where does a 5-year-old get that? Yeah.
Exactly.
So little things like that. And, when, again, I've watched documentaries on, the spirit inside my child, or the ghost. There was a series, I think it's the Ghost Inside My Child, where it was.
I think you're right, because I've seen parts of that.
Yeah, where they would talk about, like, one of the stories was they brought their young son to New York City, and as soon as he got into the city and started seeing the buildings, he started freaking out. And long story short, they did either therapy with him, but they found out that he had passed away in the 9/11 Trade Center attack.
Right. I remember seeing that. And, and Jacqueline, that's kind of how it started for me also was someone very close to me. And it's not really sad that they don't speak about it anymore, because think about how difficult that would be, having complete recollection of that lifetime and being here in this present one. So to me, that's more about healing and them connecting and plugging in fully into this life and letting go of who they were before. To me, that's not sad. I think it would be far more difficult to live in a present body knowing or thinking you belong in a different body. Does that make sense how I explained it?
Well, that's how they explain the amnesia theory when we
Right.
come in, that we don't remember past lives. Because can you imagine if we had that knowledge, we'd be trying to make amends from a lifetime ago.
Well, yeah, and how painful,
Yeah.
how painful to look at it. And I am a past life regression therapist, and I took that on more because I had that experience that had me really start wondering about reincarnation. And then it was more for my research, right? Like I wanted to know, what are other people's experiences?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the first clients that I worked with talked about, she saw herself, I want to say it was like back in the 20s, and she was with this person who was very abusive, and she actually ended up killing her infant child because she didn't want to be in a relationship with this person. She couldn't get away. She was committed, and she goes through this very vivid, and she's just sobbing. And so we start to process through, okay, the healing, what needs to be healed in this life. And you ask certain questions like, can you identify that child in this lifetime here? And that child in this lifetime was actually her abuser who almost killed her. And so it was very healing for her. But some of those moments, people can't make that stuff up. Like it is so impactful.
Right.
Even as the therapist, to listen to them walking through those things.
And it actually validates some of those cases that I've read about, is that we have a soul family on the other side, and
Right.
usually we're helping each other understand. So if you were the abuser, sometimes you make that agreement on the other side, pre-life planning, that when you come in, you're going to reverse roles.
Switch.
And now you're going to understand how it truly feels in the physical world.
Right.
There it's just theory. Here's where we experience all this mess. So yeah, I've heard that we kind of make those arrangements that, okay, now it's my turn. And not in a vindictive way. It's just like,
Correct.
It's helping each other to grow.
Yeah.
And
thank
one
you for
other
sharing
thing,
that with us, Jacqueline.
Yeah, and the other thing, Jacqueline, too, is I believe there's a reason why they grow out of it too, especially when they reach school age, because you got to, they're now in with their peers and they're trying to fit in,
Right.
and that kind of gets pushed to the side because again, they don't want, they probably don't want to talk about it anymore.
Right.
Because they want to just be normal with their friends. So it's usually pretty normal for them to just quiet that. And then, later on down the line, you get hit in the head or whatever, and then bam, it's back. Not that it ever left.
Right. It's just remembered.
Yep. And it usually comes through trauma. I don't think I've met any person that has done this work that hasn't been through some kind of trauma to reawaken it. And it makes sense because, think about when you're in your 30s.
Right.
You're not thinking about death and dying unless you're going through some kind of situation. Like that's when I was diagnosed with my kidney disease, was at 30. So, but up until that point, you think you're immortal. So you're not even thinking about this stuff, or at least I wasn't. But I think it comes back at a time when it's supposed to. And for some people, it's not supposed to be part of their journey this time around.
No, and it's funny you say that, because I often think, I'm connecting with spirit and thinking about, okay, I'm thinking about life after transition, right? So this is my conversation with spirit, and I'm like, okay, but let's say I agree to come back here and do this again. Like, can I keep my knowledge level where it's at? Like, I just want to know, like, okay, you're going to come back. You're still going to be able to talk to us. You still got these tools. Like, I don't want to start all the fuck over.
Oh no, you're starting over. Nobody.
Yeah,
It's
so
like
I don't think I'm agreeing to it this time.
I think I shared this book post. I got to see if I could find it. I'll have to go searching. But yeah, we can keep talking while I do this because it's going to take me. I know I have it somewhere, but it like hit the nail on the head. Let's see, where is it? I know I'm coming to it here real quick.
Jen says starting over sounds hard. It does. Like, I'm not okay with that.
Here it is. I don't know if you can read it. I'll
I
try
can't
to get
read it. What's it called? Oh, how to make sure you never get reincarnated on planet Earth ever again. Please. I love that. That's hysterical. I can't do this anymore.
I can't do this anymore.
That is awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, man, I gotta get. Yeah, it's just like the thought of coming back and maybe being a medium again. I don't know. It's just like I don't know. I have mixed feelings. If I have any choice, I'm not coming back.
Well, and that's where I'm at. And I'm convinced, and I think I had this conversation with Jen where I'm like, I am convinced on the other side, when they are trying to get us to sign up to come back into this world, they're like used car salesmen. Like, oh, this is going to be a good model. Nothing's going to go bad. It'll be fine, you know? And then we get here and they're like, oh, well, that's under like the lemon law or something, you know? It's
My understanding is we're the idiots that say, I want to go back because over there it's, you know, a blissful world where none of this exists here. So we get back and we're like, man, I want to do that again. I want to take this on and take this on. Your guys are like, that's a lot of crap to take on. Are you sure? And which I read this in one of these books on reincarnation that there, again, this is just what I've read. This isn't from my mind, so I want to make sure I'm clear on this. But they talk about people that some people that end up taking their lives here. And again, this is theory. This is them and research and a theory. But when we're in that state, we choose to take on so much, and our guides try to just, you know, oh, calm down. You're going to take on too much. The theory is for some that they get into the physical world and they can't handle these lessons that they set forth, and they become overwhelmed, and some people end up exiting.
They're exit points.
I found that theory very, like, I could understand that happening.
Yes.
And again, it's all theory. I mean, I don't know for certain.
Well, and I wonder too, you know, so we talk about like here and spirits and coming back, but then like, and this hurts my brain, and we're probably about to go down a deep rabbit hole. But when you think about the ideologies of other worlds, what is out there within the galaxy, is that all like part of the same behind the veil? Or, you know, so it's like the ideology like of starseeds and that there's the alien DNA. Okay, but so like, are the aliens on the other side of the veil too? Like, are they just reincarnated to that world? Like,
that's how I understand it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, you know, again, we can choose where and what we want to do, what we want to experience, and it's not just a human experience. So yeah, I think everything's in play. I don't think anything's off the table. It's like, I think if you let your mind just wander and not like thinking about it, but just see where a thought takes you, maybe that's a glimpse into what some of the things we may experience. Who knows? I'm just, you know, again, relating it to where, you know, when I was ill, it just gave me comfort knowing that there's something maybe beyond this world. And that alone, I mean, I don't want to say that, you know, when my time comes, if I'm fortunate enough to live, you know, an old life or live to an older age and go out that way, in a way, I think instead of being doom and gloom, it'll be like exciting. It's weird to say that, but it's like, you're going to know at some point when your body's done, you know, you're going to have that feeling if you're fortunate enough to go out that way.
Right.
I think my mindset will be acceptance and like actually looking forward to like what's next
Being at peace, or
instead of
what's next?
like, unfortunately for people that have not opened up or
Yeah.
accepted maybe there's something more. I mean, I could not imagine how fearful that is, just not
Oh
knowing
no.
what's about to happen and fearing that this was it.
And
You
I
know?
don't know how, and I have a lot of friends that believe this is it, when it's just dark, lights out, curtain call. That, to me, that is so depressing. And I never try to change people's perspectives on
Yeah,
that
me either.
stuff. And I'll tell them, if you ever have an experience that changes your mind, please come back and talk to me.
Yeah.
Because to me, how hopeless does that seem, to that just being it? Turning the lights off and gone.
That's my stepfather. When I lost both my brothers, his mindset is that's it. And I'm like, oh my God.
Right.
And he doesn't know I do this. My mom hasn't told him. My mom won't talk about it either, even though
Okay.
she completely believes in this. It's just a non-dynamic.
Yeah.
But it's like, that's a boundary I'd never cross. I'd never even approach him about it because that's his thought, that's his belief, that's his business.
Right.
And I'm the same way. I just do what I do. I leave it up to people to make up their own minds. I'm not doing these events to change people's minds. I just want, I remember how much this impacted my life, going through all those things that I've been through, how much comfort it gave me. And that's why I do this now, because I know there's people that they just want to know if there's something else.
Right.
So again, we do what we do bravely, because who does this?
Right.
This
Yeah.
work. I always say
Nobody. Have you ever met somebody who, like, career day at school was like, you know what? I want to be a psychic medium.
Yeah.
None of us have said that.
We need a straitjacket over here.
Right. I don't think I've met anybody who was like, yeah, this is what I wanted to be when I grew up.
I don't think I've met any psychic or medium that said, I want to be a medium.
No.
And I'm like, I look back at the 9 years plus that I've been doing this, and I'm like, I still wonder why I'm doing this at times.
Right.
I mean,
right.
It's like, this is not easy work.
No.
But again, I talk about this a lot too, that you have to have a very strong why. What's your reason for wanting to do this work? And I believe that the people that are authentic, that truly want to help, those people will survive. Because, man, if you don't know why you're doing this, you're not going to be around long, because it's brutal.
It is.
A lot of people don't see the other side of things.
No, you're right. And, and people have asked me, well, okay, why have you finally moved into servitude with spirit? And for me, it initiated as ignoring my abilities until I had to help people close to me understand theirs, but then becoming an advocate for, kids to understand, to not be afraid, to, understand those things.
Right. I think maybe look at a comment here too. Yeah, we're Natasha. Yeah, we're kind of just talking about random topics. I don't think, we didn't have a plan tonight to do anything. So it's kind of like we just, I guess, talking about whatever. But as far as turning it on and off, I don't, it's not like it's off. It's just, I'm not paying attention to it.
Right.
It's really, for me, it's just a mind switch. I mean, when I think of the spirit world and I have that intention that I'm going to connect now, I'm connected. I don't have to do anything else beyond that. But right now, it's just kind of like we're just chit-chatting about various topics and sharing feelings on our experiences here.
And I think, for me, that took me a while as a kid with abilities to learn to not give spirit full access. Spirits, I should say, not spirit, full access to me all the time. Took a while for me to control that, to learn to not necessarily put on the blinders, but put up some boundaries. But now, and I can go to work every once in a while, especially when I'm at work in the public, I have rules. I'm like, listen, this isn't what I'm here for. Every once in a while, I'll have somebody very I actually had a coworker's father come through, and he's like, you need to talk to her. And I'm like, I'm at work. This is my boundary. And I said, and this is a person who is like not ever alone. And I'm like, if you really want me to talk to them, we need to have this come up in conversation, and they have to be alone. And like by the end of the day, that happened. And so I was like, listen, are you open to this? This violates all my rules. And it was something important that they needed to hear. But I think for the most part, Spirit kind of respects those boundaries.
And it's a discipline. That's what I've learned over the years too. It's a discipline. True. When I'm not doing this work, I'm not even thinking about it. I don't talk about it. It's not part of my daily conversations with anybody. And it's not because I'm hiding it. It's just that when I'm not working, I'm not working, and that's a boundary I set a while back that, we're here for a reason. I'm also living a physical life.
Correct.
And it's not all about the other side. So again, it's a time and a place, and we've all hit that burnout wall. And that's how I learned to mitigate that, is by when it's off, it's off. I'm not even thinking about it. People may ask me a question and I'm like, nope, sorry, I'm not working right now.
Yeah. I'll have that too. And, not as much as in the beginning, but I don't know, like when you first started coming out of the closet, there would be people who, friends, or just, oh, well, is there anyone around me? Or, and they bring it up in passing, and it's like, that's not, so even just trying to set those boundaries within people in my life.
Right. I got a foolproof way of like squashing that. And this is not my idea. I read it in a book.
Yeah.
But for those very questions, another medium was like, I'd be at a party and somebody would ask me, is anybody around me? And he said, after a while, I just started describing the Grim Reaper. So he'd sit there and go, let me just see. And he'd go, matter of fact, yes, there is a tall man standing behind you. I can't see his face because he has this black robe over his head. And he's got something in his hand. It looks like a sickle. And wait a minute, he's telling me something. He's saying, don't make plans for next Tuesday at 7. You have an appointment. And he would just sit there and watch their face just like in horror, like, my God.
I'm going to have to, that's hysterical. I'm going to have to do that. And just because I like that. That's funny. Michael, it has been so nice to sit and connect and talk with you and just chat. We haven't really gotten to talk besides Messenger for quite a while. So I really appreciate you being here.
Yeah, no, it was fun.
And I appreciate your viewers that all tuned in and were receptive to our conversation. And
same here. I've been kind of, like I said in the beginning, I haven't really been on Facebook Live a whole lot, but we'll see. That'll probably change.
And I did share your website earlier. So if anyone's looking for that, but before we do go in a couple minutes, can you tell everybody what you have coming up, where they can find you? And you and Jen hop on pretty frequently too.
Yeah, we've been actually lacking in that too. We just got back from Deadwood, South Dakota. We all made a trip down there, so that was an interesting trip. But right now, I have nothing planned. I know Tanya and I we do have some planning to do for the local area. We're going to do some more events here.
Right.
I do want to do some Zoom events, but right now it's just kind of, I do have private readings available, through my website. And I always tell people, it's like, I just put a small amount of automated appointments,
right?
And I can book around them. I'm just trying to feel out with this new job, kind of just keeping the balance there too. So I do have private sessions available. But other than that, that's kind of all I got going on right now.
All right. Well, everybody keep an eye on Michael. He's hysterical. He's funny. Most of you know him, but I'm really grateful to have you within my circle. So I appreciate it.
Stephanie, Penelope, Charlie.
Yeah. All my names. But I'm out now. Stephanie,
you're out.
Here I am. Yeah, I'm out. I'm out of the closet. Well, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Soul Flight, and I hope you'll follow along. We do have some interesting guests coming up, and I've been doing the show every 2 weeks. So on the 20th, we have Dr. Rita Louise coming in. You guys will really like her. She's a healer. She talks about all kinds of topics. I'm very excited to have her on. Coming up in April, Ellie hopefully will be in on the 17th to bring back in the mix. And in the mixes, it's really a lot like what Michael and I did. You know, we sit, we have conversation, we want to connect with you. We talk about, sometimes there's weird news, right? We talk about the weird news, things going on, how that ties into the metaphysical. We also will be having Mike Huberty on at the end of the month. He does the American Ghost Walk Tour, so I'm really excited about that. And a lot of other fun, exciting things. So I hope you'll follow along. I do try to keep my schedule up to date on the Soul Flight podcast, so you can always see who the guests are there. And again, thank you so much, Michael. It was great. I appreciate you.
Same
and we'll
here.
catch everybody else soon. Have a good night.
Bye, everybody.